Well, thank you, Speaker Pelosi. It's great to be over here in the House, and thank you for your tremendous leadership. We're always admiring of it. It's great to be here with Leader Schumer, who has really had a keen focus on these price issues for some time now, and always appreciate his leadership, and Chairman Pallone, who we've been working with on so many issues, our R&D competitiveness, privacy, and now this issue. Elevated pump prices are driving inflation. They're wreaking havoc on American households and their budgets, and they're threatening our post-pandemic recovery and our global competitiveness. In the state of Washington, many of my constituents are paying $4.50 a gallon, and that means that average Washington drivers will be forced to shell out $750 more to fill up this year than they did in 2021. It's even worse for West Coast truckers who are facing diesel costs as high as $6.60 a gallon, and that is driving up the price of every good that is delivered because of those transportation costs. According to a witness that testified before the Senate Commerce Committee, unwarranted pump prices are costing Californians $500 million, $500 million a month more than the previous month because of the high costs. So, in order to make sure that we are focusing on these consumers, we want to do everything we can to make sure that we're protecting them. Right now, we see that consumers are spending that they're cutting back on products and services by 1/3 because of those high costs. But as my colleagues have already said, the soaring oil profits that the oil company has seen is likely to top over $125 billion in profits this year, and so far they have given $40 billion in stock buybacks to boost shareholders. So not only did oil companies already receive $35 billion in tax breaks for incentives to drill, the Trump tax plan and the Republican 2017 tax bill created a new tax giveaway of $85 billion to oil companies. And what are they spending the money on? As you can see from my colleagues, they talked about the shareholders' issues. They're also spending millions of dollars on lobbyists to block any progress on clean energy or climate policy. This is why we are drafting legislation that will protect consumers and make transportation fuel markets more fair and transparent. Legislation can shine a bright light on the gaping hole in the fuel market that is after the oil is refined, which is driving up prices. We know that energy markets can be manipulated. We saw that after Enron with electricity and natural gas. Congress acted and gave new authority to regulate, to basically oversee those markets. Since that authority went in place in 2007, the overseers, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission, has seen over $1 billion in fines and penalties against people who have manipulated those markets. We know after the derivative market brought down our whole economy, Congress also gave parallel authority to the Commodities Future Trading Commission to make sure that those future energy markets were also properly policed. Today, they've collected over $4.5 billion in fines. So it's safe to say that shining a bright light on dark energy markets is a very high priority now. We need to make sure that there is a policeman on the beat. And that is why we are working on legislation with our colleagues here in the House to make sure that the FTC has every tool in its capacity to shine that bright light into these dark energy markets. They have some authority now, but they need more tools. They need the tools to follow the information just as FERC and CFTC have done. They need a dedicated team of experts to make sure that they're monitoring those markets and looking out for any suspicious behavior. And they need fines and penalties that will bring about corrective action. One of the witnesses at our Senate Commerce hearing just recently said on this issue, quote, "Transparency is the simplest and cheapest way to lower energy prices." So that's what we're going to be fighting for. So I thank Majority Leader Schumer, Speaker Pelosi, and Chairman Pallone for prioritizing this issue. It's time we move forward on this critical legislation. The key issue here is why you need transparency and more enforcement. The tighter the markets, the tighter the supply, the more chances for manipulation. So when you have this condition, if you have a lot of supply, you don't have that problem. Now it's important to have a policeman on the beat. So our colleagues need to answer the question, are they for transparency or are they not?